Alright, so in this FactoryTalk View Side Edition Quick Tips, we're going to talk about a new feature in FactoryTalk View Studio 13, right? And this is going to be called pinning. So there's a new feature called pinning, and what this does is it's in display settings, and you can actually come in here and enable it, disable it, use it, not use it. But this is something that's very cool. I think that, and as software grows, obviously they're going to add new things. So it's fair to talk about them and the use cases of them. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of how it works, what would be a good implementation for using it? And what I see is like a simple scenario of like an operator like going to a set screen or something of that nature, and you need to have that very layover pop up on to kind of get their attention, right? So say for instance like a PID block or something like some kind of control. Maybe you built a special screen for like a machine startup or something of that nature, and then when they went to the screen, the pop-up would pin first, so this would pop up over the screen that went there. So it's a pop-up screen that would be there, right? So it's generally going to be used for pop-ups, but again, let's talk about the way this can be used. Okay, so keep in mind, this is in the, when you build a display, it's called display settings. You come in here and then you would talk about right here is on top. So then you come over here and you have pin options. Like if you wanted to use a pin button. So let's go ahead and talk about this, because this screen is kind of built to describe what it does. So in display settings, you have the display types. You have replace, you have overlay, you have on top. So on top means you're just going to pull that, like say for instance a global object, right? You're going to pull that screen on top of the other screen so that you can use it, right? 90% of global objects use this because it's a simple small screen made for operating a specific device or something of that nature, right? So this added a new feature called cannot be replaced. Okay, so this is designed the setting, right, so that select means on top and will always come to the forefront, right? Basically this is going to be in the forefront of every time they go to that said screen. Now again, this does have use cases and not use cases, so kind of play with it and judge it how you would want to actually see it. Now there are another cool set of features here, which is called pin and unpin commands. So in the pin command, it's just a simple button, right? And then the unpin command is just a simple button as well. So let's look at the properties for that real quick. You come in here to actions and you see there's another set of things that are basically another command that you can do that says pin, right? There's another one that says unpin as well. So if we were to actually look at this, we can click on the button and come over here to our command wizard, right? I like to stay in the all commands and macros so I can see everything. And then you come down here and you'll see this is the pin feature, and then there's an unpin feature as well. So in our case, we're going to leave it alone. This is already pre-done, right? And then the unpin, if we were to look at that, we would see the action for that when it's released is unpin. So in this specific instance, they're giving the operator or said admin, right? Let's just say we put credentials on here and we only wanted to see this stuff right here, right? We only wanted to see this stuff when a specific user signed in. We could put visibility on that, come over here and then put like an expression and do functions and look at some like security codes or something of that nature to say, okay, so a certain user signed in, like an admin user or a special user, then they have the ability to choose if this feature is pinned or not pinned. So that's a very, very powerful tool, because again, when it comes down to it, it gives the operator the power, or it gives the technician the power to choose whether the screen is going to be prominent, whether they want to pull it up and have it pulled up all the time, or whether they don't want to have it pulled up all the time. So the pin and unpin button are really a cool feature. They're just standard buttons again when it comes down to it, and then they have different commands behind them. So keep that in mind if you're using the pin button, right? If you're going to use the pin buttons, you got to have this. There's a new bottom checkbox you should have, and it's called pin, right? So pin button, and you're going to have that. So keep that in mind. There's a couple different things you can do as far as this goes, and you can choose pin as far as pulling up the screen, you can come over here and pull that up. Like if I'm in my system right here, you can easily see that. Now I'm just going to actually show you the back plane of this. So we're going to go to settings, so display settings, and you're going to come over here and see this. So similar to what we just talked about, you have your display types, and then you come over here and you have on top, and then it has cannot be replaced. So this right here, if you check the box, uncheck the box, obviously that does that specific feature. Now we want to use the pin feature or the pin buttons, so we want to make sure this box is checked. All right, so we have the ability to choose whether we want to use this feature or not use the feature. Now that again is chosen by sending the command to the actual HMI system, right, based upon the commands right here. And again, we can add security to this, so this is not something that would be seen all the time, but this simple screen right here is one that's developed for describing how the system should work, right? Now again, we talked about use cases. Use cases would be, for me at least, something very important that the operator needs to see and needs to do before they do anything else, right? There's a good use case right there. Maybe there's a use case where the process, like for like a PID loop or something of that nature, like a trend, or maybe there's another pop-up, maybe like a pump control or a motor control or something of that nature that they need to do first in the order of operation of controls and something like that, something of that nature. Then when you think about it, that's a very powerful tool, right? Because this screen will pop up automatically, right? So when you think about it, when they call another screen that this screen happens to live on, this actual screen will pop up and get their attention, right? So in that case, it's a very, very powerful tool. And I think it's one that has many different use cases, but again is very specific to operations and making sure everything is actually working well for you, right? Again, it's about a system design, how the system operates, and making things user friendly, right? So just keep all that in mind when you're designing your projects and when you're designing HMI systems all together. So the pin and unpin, again, we talked about how to get those. Real simple. You just use this button, and if you're not familiar where to get the button properties, you're going to come up here and go to your buttons. Let's just say button right here, and it would just be a standard button right here. So you would go to standard button right here, you would come over here, and if you wanted to use, let's just say for instance you wanted to use press or unpress, generally I use the release, so when they release it, that action does happen. Then you come over here and you would choose pin right here and hit finish, right? So again, when it comes down to it, that's how simple that is, right? So you can pin or unpin. Now again, there are some other features as well when it comes to this button that are we could talk about, but in this focus, in this specific video, we're talking about the pin and unpin of a specific pop-up screen. Now again, to keep everything short and sweet, I'm describing how the system works, the use cases about it, and then things you can do. Now testing this is completely up to you on how you would want to see this work. So when it comes down to it, maybe in the future, if you would like to see, me build a screen and then have that screen have this pop-up work, maybe you can, you can say so and we can actually build that. But right now, to keep it short and sweet, what we're going to do is just describe how the pinning feature works, and also describe how the actual system, functions and what's a good use case. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, this is just for FactoryTalk View Site Edition, or FactoryTalk View Studio 13. Again, that's a new feature they added. So the pinning is something, if you're looking to use that in 12 or below, you're not going to be able to see that. So just keep that in mind. But moving forward, like any software goes, it progresses, it gets better. So with all that said, hopefully you learned a lot on this video and a new feature that you can use in your tools and something that you can use to make your HMI systems better. And with all that said, we'll see you guys on the next one.